On the last video, I showed you how to install Batocera on your Astro City Mini, and I also covered how to use Mini-Tool Partition to format your USB stick so Windows can read and write ROMs onto the drive. I recommend watching the video if you haven't hacked your Astro City Mini yet. So in this video, we'll be covering how to use Screenscraper to get all the artwork, videos, metadata for your ROMs, as well as putting the BIOS files into the correct folders, as well as transferring ROMs, and just messing around with the Batocera.config files so that your Astro City Mini can play all the ROMs smoothly. Bear in mind, this isn't the most powerful device out there, so it will struggle on a lot of PS1 games, but it should be okay for older generation games, 8-bit to 16-bit era games. There is a problem with Neo Geo games. I'm kind of going through and testing out what I can, but a lot of my Neo Geo games isn't working, and some FB Neo games as well. So let's go ahead and start with downloading Screenscraper. So the first step is to go onto Screenscraper, and I recommend registering here, just so you can scrape more ROMs, but with a free account you can only scrape one system at a time. So if you have like thousands of ROMs and you want to get all the artwork, with a guest account I think you're limited to how many ROM artwork you can download. And to download Scraper itself, click on this, so it says Scraper at the top, and scroll right at the bottom and you'll see a link to the downloads for your system. So if you've got Windows, click on this one, Linux, and for Mac OS over here. I'm using Windows, so I'm just going to click on Windows. I already have Scraper installed, but this is what the files look like. Double click on the Scraper UI.x, and your initial setup will look different to mine. It will download and update the necessary files, but you will have a sort of setup wizard to tell you what you want to checkmark, like if you want artwork or just videos, and what systems you want to scrape. So once you've gone past that, this will load onto here, and on the left side you can see all systems is ticked. So this will scrape all of our systems, if you have all of these, that is, which the ACM won't support most of these. I believe some of these just won't work just because of the limitations of the actual hardware, but this is what you'll see. Here is my share folder. So from using Mini-Tool Partition, I am able to allocate a letter to this drive and open this up here. So we have our BIOS files is here. I mean, this is quite excessive. I probably don't need all of these BIOS files. This is a BIOS files pack that I downloaded. You can search on Google for multiple different BIOS packs. I recommend searching one for Batocera. There will be a Batocera BIOS files pack. I am missing a few systems. I can't remember, just a couple, which I will show you how to see what you're missing on your Astro City Mini. But here, this is what I'm using currently. If you are having issues with your Batocera BIOSes, you can go onto the wiki page of Batocera and just click on your system of choice. And to check the BIOS MDF checksum, we can see here, this is the files needed. And you can download a MDF checker to check if you have the correct BIOS files as shown here. So just use this as a reference if you are having issues running any sort of game. And our ROMs are down here. I'm not using many of these folders, but for instance, here's PS1 is down here somewhere. PS1, doesn't matter if they're in folders or just the bin and queue files. This already has our artwork under media. You can see this is all of our ROMs scraped with artwork and videos. each video is roughly between 1 to 5 megabytes. Some are smaller, some are bigger, but typically 1 to 5 megabytes. I think if you change the resolution of these, the file size will be even smaller. So if you're limited on USB drive space, then change the resolution of the videos. I need to rescrape this anyway because of the new games, which I'm going to just extract. So I have a 128 gigabyte USB stick, and I have about 15 gigabytes left. So while that's extracting, I'm just going to go back and check my Sega CD ROMs because I haven't scraped this yet, so this will be a good example. So I don't have any artwork or video files for this system. Go back onto Skraper, search Sega CD, which should be near the bottom, Sega Mega CD. So once you click that, locate where your ROMs are. So mine will be under Share M ROMs, and scroll down until you see Sega CD. If you want to scrape a different console, then you choose a different ROM folder. Right, log into your Screenscraper account. As you can see, I can only scrape one system at a time. Games list, we want to check this, so this will save the game list.xml and will direct all of our necessary artwork and video files and link them up with the ROMs so they show up. Metadata, we're going to add metadata just to see info about the games, descriptions, media. Click on this to enable it. As you can see here, I've chosen the 4 images mix. This will choose a screenshot, logo, box art and cartridge. I find the cartridge is kind of unnecessary because it doesn't really show up properly on the ACM, so you can actually turn that off. I mean, you can change this to just screenshot or box art if you want to. Now this will download onto the root folder of your ROMs and then make a media subfolder. Everything else can be left on default. I want videos as well. So I'm going to click on box 3D and choose a video. I'm going to click it again and choose normalize 30 FPS 24K kilohertz video, just because these are smaller videos. And now I can actually change the screen size of this, or the resolution, I think, by just changing this to like 200. I'm not too sure if this actually makes the videos smaller in size, but I do this anyway because the ACM, it has a problem with if you have too many ROMs with too many videos and artworks, it slows it down and it crashes a lot. So if you find that your ACM crashes a lot and you have too many ROMs with artwork and video previews, then you will need to either just disable it or just try to make the videos smaller in size. Can probably just really turn it on. Now everything's ready to go, everything's ready to be scraped once you're happy with your settings. The main thing is choosing your right output folder. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to click on start. Now, depending on how many ROMs you have, this might take several hours to less than 15 minutes. I only have 94 here, so it's only going to find, I think I have less games, it's just showing me duplicates. So I had like almost 7,000 RKFB Neo games, and it was saying it was going to take like several hours, at least 7 hours I think it was. Now I did have a lot of duplicates and I've changed the ROM set, but just to show you, you might want to just leave this overnight if you got loads of ROMs. So I'm going to let it do its thing and come back when it's ready. So once it's done, you'll hear the Final Fantasy VII victory chime. This took about 8 minutes. I'm just going to tick on this button here, and then this will just go back on to the system settings. So let's just check our Sega CD folder. If I refresh, here's our media, images, and this is what it looks like. And our videos. And check our games list.xml. And here's all the metadata. All of the descriptions, and location of our artwork and stuff. Now the next thing that we need to do is we just need to edit our config system files on Batocera. So locate your config file, which is under system in share, and our Batocera.config file is here. Now I'm using Notepad++ to edit this file, so if you haven't downloaded this, then I recommend using this just because it's easier to edit and see what's going on with the config file. So this user here is kindly shared their Batocera settings. There's a couple of tweaks just to make the ACM run smoother and our shortcuts a lot easier to navigate, as well as enhancing some of the gameplay. And it also tells you they recommend using MAME 2003 plus romset. So I'm just going to click on the paste bin here, and you can see everything's the same apart from all the changes made are at the bottom of this config file. I mean, you can copy this whole thing and repaste it, which is what I did. Just copy all of the text. You can also download this as a text file, and then on your Batocera config, just you can delete all of this text and just paste the settings under here. Now you can see what changes have been made. Custom configurations, that's the button layout, some changes on the menus and stuff. Now don't save it yet, because we also need another settings that will help you control the volume when you're in a game. Because one of the annoying things about this is that to change the volume you have to keep going on to your system settings of Batocera and go through the sound settings. So there's a couple of extra steps just to navigate to the volume. So with this modification we can easily use the select button and up and down to change the volume. This is under the GitHub page of ACM custom firmware. You want to click on issues, so there's a tab called issues, and I recommend just checking or just going through all of this, because if you do have any problems then you can refer to some of these threads here. Now the settings that we want is on page 2. I haven't actually tried this ACM power button, but this is suggested that is working. This actually shortcuts your power button at the back to turn off Batocera instead of having to turn it off via the menu and then switching it off at the back. But that's not what we want. We want this here, Batocera config improvement for volume control. This makes it so much easier, especially if you're playing this at night and you want to turn down the volume, because some of these ROMs are quite loud and you can't really change it unless you go back onto the system menu of Batocera. So this person has basically changed our RetroArch input volume settings. This is the config file that you need. So you want to copy this, go back into your config file, scroll all the way down and just paste it here. So here's our settings for the volume. We want to save the changes, so just click save and exit. So that's all we need to do on the PC now. We can remove our USB stick and insert it back into our ACM. Alright, so here it is. Here's our Batocera ACM, and once you put ROMs into the correct folders, it will start listing up the system itself with the artwork in that. Let's check out our video previews. So it does take a few seconds to load the video, but it's not too slow. Let's check our Sega CD games. So here's our Sega CD games that we scraped earlier. And we can actually change the way this looks by pressing the select button and going on to game list view style. We can change it to whatever you like. You can do basic if you want it to look simple. but this doesn't show any artwork at all. I can do game carousel, which gives it a neat look. And you can also change the way the fonts and stuff show up. So tons of options to customize the front end of this. Now because I've got so many ROMs, sometimes this does crash. I had an issue with FB Neo. I had a lot of duplicates and I had all of the artwork for around 7,000 ROMs. It was maybe the incorrect ROM set, but this was making the whole system feel really slow and it kept crashing. So I changed the ROM set of my FB Neo, and so far I'm not having too much issues. So as you can see there, it kind of crashed because it was loading too many pictures, I think. So this is one of the issues that I have with Batocera on the Astro City Mini, is it can't handle that many ROMs, and if you try to flick through some of the games too quickly, it will just hang up and just crash. It seems to be better if I just leave it running, leave it to warm up, and then scroll through some of the games. But I have to be careful not to go too quick. But I don't seem to have this issue if a ROM list is small. I'm not too sure if this Skraper itself or this version of Batocera is not compatible with some of the artwork. But if you find that your ACM is running too slow with these video previews, you can just not download the video previews. There isn't a way to disable them being previewed on the front end, but you can just delete all the videos under the video folders if you want to. And another neat little thing I want to show you is you can change the screensaver on this. So you click start, you want to go onto user interface, click on screensaver settings, and at default it's set to dim. We want to do random video, so after 5 minutes it will play a random video from your ROMs. You can set the duration, you can stretch the videos, you can enable the controls as well. So I think you can press a hotkey and it will start the game. And the video file extensions have to be MP4 or AVI. So click back and back again. If you click select launch screensaver, I want to make sure custom videos is set off. So click back again, press select and launch screensaver. I would just choose a random video, and you can change the video by pressing left or right. And the good thing is it doesn't have to be a video screensaver, it can just be the screenshot of the game. Now if you want to change the layout of all of your systems so it keeps it unified, then you can just go back on to the start, user interface and settings, theme configuration. You can change the configurations here. So I've clicked on detailed because it just shows all of the metadata, all of the descriptions of the games. And you can also change various other settings here. I've kept this kind of default for now. So let's load up a game. So here's Sonic 3 on the Mega Drive. And just to show you how to turn the volume up or down, I press select and down on the joystick to turn it down, or I can turn it all the way up. Which can get pretty loud. Turn it down. So far it's running pretty smoothly, no issues at all. But there is some audio crackling here and there. So it's not running full speed, and that bezel you can see here, that is probably causing it to slow down a bit. We can actually turn this off in a minute. It is actually quite sluggish. I think there's just too much going on the screen, too many colours for the Astro City to handle. I can't get past this. Spring is screwing me over. Here we go. Alright, let's back out of this by pressing start and select. There is quite a bit of input latency as well, but I think that's just the nature of this. You're going to have latency. It's not the most responsive device, so it takes a while just to even load back onto the menu. We need to turn the bezels off. Go back into the main Batocera menu, press start, click on game settings, go down until you find decorations, and decoration set, you want to turn this off. Let's go ahead and try N64. I haven't had any luck with any of these N64 ROMs. Try Diddy Kong Racing. So this loads, but the screen orientation is completely off. Which is unfortunate. Surprisingly, it actually runs, but you can hear the audio already crackling. So yeah, basically unplayable. So I was just testing out some Dreamcast games and was not able to get any of these running, but if you do have any problems with your emulator settings, then you can actually change your core settings if you press select and go into advanced system options, and we can change our settings here. So using Flycast, and if I just go normal and then go back, let's try and load one of these games. So it does initially load, but then it crashes. So I just think this system isn't powerful enough to load anything above the PS1. The screen orientation is already incorrect, and then it just goes back onto the menu. Which is a shame. It's a shame this isn't powerful enough to play Dreamcast games, because I would have loved to play Dreamcast games on something this size, this sort of bar top mini arcade size. So the last thing I want to show you is how to change the aspect ratio of the game. So if you load up a ROM and the screen is too small, you can actually stretch this out to utilize the full screen of the ACM. To do this, you need to hold select and press A. And this will bring up the RetroArch menu. When I click on settings, choose video, scroll down until you see scaling, aspect ratio, you can change here. So as you can see here, it's stretching it out on the back. There's loads of different presets. And we go, it's stretched out our image, so it's using the full screen of the Astro City. And I do say it does look pretty good. This screen is very bright, and I do like how some of these retro games look. So after messing around with a lot of PS1 ROMs, I found out that under advanced system options, using the libretro PCSX rearmed emulator, as well as changing frame skip to 2, I'm able to play a lot of the PlayStation 1 games without any hiccups. With these new options, a lot of the FMV sequences and cutscenes run quite smoothly without Batocera reloading in the background. And although I do have frame skip on 2, it doesn't really affect the gameplay as much, because on full speed this slows down a lot and crashes. So with frame skip it runs a lot smoother without less crashes. So if you find that your PS1 games just don't run properly or crashes a lot, then just change the emulator settings as well as the frame skip, and you should have a much better experience. Because when I initially tried it, a lot of the PS1 games just wouldn't run properly. Okay, this is struggling a little bit there. But just messing around with settings has helped a lot. And another thing I want to mention is that I've actually had more success with using the MAME 2003 Plus reference ROM set than I have with FB Neo. So a lot of these games don't seem to run, they just crash. But with MAME I'm able to actually run a few of these games. I don't think this is an ideal set because a lot of these games still have compatibility issues. So if I try to run some of the newer MAME games or FB Neo games, they just don't run at all, they don't try to load. Maybe it's just my ROM sets, maybe I need to download newer ones or different ones. Okay, this one is loading. It's the wrong location. So here's a game that runs smoothly. It's kind of hit and miss whether or not FB Neo or MAME games run at all. So you just kind of have to like experiment and test out each ROM, because there isn't like a compatibility spreadsheet, or there isn't any builds where all the ROMs just work, which is a shame. If this system was more powerful and it just ran everything that you throw into it, then the experience would be so much better. Maybe an update in the Batocera image will fix a lot of the compatibility issues, but who knows. But from my experience, I found that older generation games will run like at full speed. So the general rule is just to load older system games, especially when it comes to arcade ones. So in order to successfully turn your ACM off, you need to press select, choose shut down system. This will save all the metadata, and then once this is turned off, you can then switch it off at the back here. That's pretty much it. That covers Batocera for your Astro City Mini. There's a lot of trial and error with this thing, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. So it also depends on what ROM sets that you use, because some are just not compatible for this machine. So I do love the idea of just, you know, turning on the machine and just playing an arcade classic using joystick controls. But it's just a shame that this isn't powerful enough to play anything higher than Dreamcast or GameCube. That would be cool if you can put like a Raspberry Pi in this thing, like a Raspberry Pi 5 maybe, but I highly doubt it. And one of the biggest issues that I have is this could just reset at any given moment if there's too much going on the screen, even if it's a cutscene. Like, I've played a few PS1 games on here and it can't handle cutscenes very well. If there's too much going on, it will just crash. So this is more for if you just want to play a game for like 10-15 minutes, a short game. You can save it via the RetroArch settings, but any sort of I don't know, RPG or intensive graphics, then you're gonna come across some crashes and it's just gonna ruin the gameplay experience. So just pick wisely what ROMs you want to play on this thing. That's pretty much it. If you do have any questions, then please comment down below. I will try and reply to everyone. So to end this video off, I'm going to demonstrate some of the games that I tried, some of the issues that I faced. So thanks for watching again, and I'll see you on another video.